back, relax, and join Love and Stuff for Stuffed with Love, a spoken word experience, Friday, November 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, featuring curator, vocalist, mentor, spoken word artist, and this event's co-host, LaShawn Phoenix Moore.
My sister's smile is when the leaves first change in the fall. Remembering how happy she gets when we make chocolate-covered strawberries for her store. The door opens and she smiles, offering strawberries to each person. I sneak a few. My sister's eyes are silky, soft, and smooth, looking bright and big, like a lighthouse.
Also featuring spoken word artist and singer-songwriter Ben Will.
The one before you did not play nicely with my heart. Her strident statement scarred my psyche the way a Brillo pad scrapes the enamel finish of a new car. She hurt me, thinking that she was cleansing, but in essence, she left long-lasting lacerations upon my core and a filmy residue of inferiority upon my spirit. I wasn't looking to let anyone else in. But then I met you. You sauntered across the hotel hallway, high heels clicking the marble floors like a grade school teacher writing with fresh chalk. You walked to me, illuminative smile radiating from this mystery that was your face. You talked to me, stating your name, then stating my name. You already knew my name.
Let the music speak to you through multi-genre recording artist Angel A. And enjoy the music stylings of Juilliard and Yale-trained violinist Richmond Punch. Special guest appearance from the legendary comedian and talk show host, Coco.
I got some hood in me. I got some church in me, but God left a little bit of hood in me. So I fight different.
Are you ready for love? Hi, I'm Marcus Holmes, the facilitator of the Love and Stuff community, and we're ready for you to join us on the next episode of The Dating Game. Forget all of the social distancing. Let's get up close and personal online. And who knows, you might make a heart connection that will lead you to a private Zoom room date. Inbox me now at Marcus R. Holmes or at Love and Stuff for your opportunity to connect closer while we are so far apart. Stay safe and be well. Welcome to Love and Stuff. It's my pleasure to be the facilitator of all things Love and Stuff here on Facebook each Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Marcus Holmes, and I'm grateful that you are joining us across platforms. I see that folks are on YouTube events, folks that are on Love and Stuff page. Thank you so much, folks that are on Marcus R. Holmes page. Thank you. I hope that you will click share and tag someone to join us in the discussion. And if you are like me, since COVID has hit, you have stopped counting the number of losses, either that you directly knew the decedent or that someone's family member that you knew of has made their transition. It has been an unprecedented time. It has been a tough journey for us all. And it really does compound the holidays if you're like me and you had already lost other loved ones. And so we wanted to talk to you about your mental wellness, our mental wellness during the holidays. And we have two dynamic women, psychologists, doctors, who will come and talk to us about mental wellness around the holidays. Give me some likes or loves in the comments if you have experienced a loss of someone either around the holiday or during this COVID time of COVID, I guess I will call it that. So give us some likes. That might not be your favorite thing to like, but just as an acknowledgement, let us know that you are tracking with us, that you have indeed experienced a loss. And unfortunately, if you're like me, you haven't had the opportunity to attend their homegoing celebration. You know, and in the African-American diaspora, we'll call them the homegoing celebrations, right? And you haven't had the chance to bake your favorite dish and take it to that family, right? You haven't been at a repast to sit and to talk and to hold the hand of your loved one or to hold the hand of a friend. And even still, you weren't able to be in the hospital with someone during their final moments. And so all of this grief and all of this pain and all of this loss becomes compounded. And now we are embarking upon a holiday that we want to be thankful for. So we want to help you have some resources to shift your focus, not forget what you're experiencing, not become numb to it, but be able to be mindful as you go through it. I'm bringing on to the camera with us Dr. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
I am so excited to have you because I've talked to a number of people. I was just talking to someone today. And if you have in your background me playing on another device, you might need to just turn it down a little bit. But I was speaking with someone today, and she was talking about her mother's birthday being Friday and her mother passing right after Thanksgiving. And she talked about how it's just a double whammy for her family. And then she's had brothers in love. She's had other siblings to pass. And now they can't get together for the holidays because, as you know, most states, are discouraging the indoor multi-household gathering. And so she just doesn't feel like she really has been given the place and space to really grieve and celebrate collectively as we would do. And so I wanted to have you on to talk to us a little bit about this, because this would be I'm sure for both of you, your areas of expertise, but if you'll just share with our listening audience a little bit about your background, and then we'll go into a little bit of some of the great information you have for us. So Dr. Trudy, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, actually, we've been together since 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We attended the same high school. I mean, there's only one in Detroit. That's Cass Tech.
There are several, but go ahead.
We both did our master's work. I did my master's work at Wayne State.
Okay.
And I did my PhD in Ohio with the Union Institute and University.
Mm-hmm.
And the journey has been long to get to this point. I've worked in about 5 different counties.
Wow.
While still residing in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't too much I haven't seen or heard, whether it was working for a nonprofit, working for government, also working on the college level. It's been a long journey.
Right.
But it's all been in the human service field.
Okay. And Angela Hutchins Malloy is in the comments saying 2 of the best. Thank you for that. And thank all of you that are joining us. Corey Reed, Rayshawn Hall, all of you that are joining. Click, share, and tag someone to join us in the discussion. Monique Griffin Gonzalez, Marilyn Hamilton Nelson, Linda Alexander, Earl Dawkins. We see all of you and we appreciate you for joining us. Some of you I know are grappling with your own grief. And so tell us a little bit more, Trudy. I know you're modest and I appreciate that, Dr. Trudy. But what's the kind of work that you've done over these many years in all of these various counties?
Community mental health, vocational rehabilitation, and now I'm in juvenile justice.
Wow. Wow. And, for the layperson, we hear these words, but I'm not sure we know what all of those things mean. So you might just elaborate a little bit more.
Well, with community mental health, specifically, it was with a very special population, which included deaf, blind, as well as persons with hearing loss, because there is a difference between the 3, as well as hard of hearing. That's a whole different story. But from there, I also worked in vocational rehabilitation for a very large agency in Oakland County. And I had the opportunity to do vocational assessments for persons who were impacted by various ranges of different disabilities, whether it was intellectual, psychiatric, physical, head injuries. And then from there, I'm currently in juvenile justice, and I am what's referred to as diversion supervisor, where I come across youth throughout Wayne County who are first-time offenders, and they need that opportunity to not be a part of the system. And a staff assess them and make determinations and help the family make some good choices as to what is needed to keep this child out of the system. So you can't just say that Wayne County locks up all kids. They don't.
They don't.
There are steps to get to that point. And it also depends on the nature of the offense. So I might see a kid who has had an offense of retail fraud. They took something from, it used to be Hudson's, Macy's. But because of other things that are going on in their life, that might have been their first offense. They may have been following their peers. They may have been the person that didn't get away because they was running.
Right.
So what's going to help this kid make better decisions, better choices, other than, standing before a judge or a referee to make a determination what's going to happen with your life for the next 1 to 2 years. So that's where I am now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's helpful. It tells us a little bit more about the work, which, I believe, Dr. Hale, that's God's work working through you. I mean, to ensure that people have the right amount of perspective and advocacy to help them make better choices, I think is God's work. So I applaud you for that. And thank you so much. And Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams, tell us a little bit, after you guys got out of that great school that you say, and you get your master's, what kind of work did you find yourself working in and delving?
Well, actually, I was in the mental health field from when I graduated from Wayne State. And I worked started off as in a group home as a direct care worker, and then worked myself up to actually like a supervisor that actually looked at how the people were in the group home and developing behavior plans for them to better themselves. And at that time, I worked more with cognitively challenged individuals. And so I did that for a while. And then I worked for Jewish Vocational Services, which was more dealing with work and helping individuals develop working skills, almost like Michigan Rehab Service. So not like truly as a counselor, folk rehab counselor, but that's the kind of work I did. And I was one of the first certified employment training specialists in the state of Michigan. And that was the work that I did there. And a large part of both of our lives was working with the deaf and hard of hearing population, the families, and the individuals dealing with mental illness and cognitive disabilities. So we did that. We work with adults, with the children. We work with hearing families that had deaf children or hard of hearing children. We did that for a long time. I also did testing, psychological testing for Michigan Rehab Services for deaf and hard of hearing individuals so we can place them into jobs. I then went to work with Vista Maria, which was pretty much where young ladies that had really got involved with the law, and they were placed there, or they even were placed there because of the state, because of neglect at home. So they couldn't go home. So I did intensive services there. And then after that was over with, once I finished doing that, I was pulled back into the deaf world. So I went back to working with deaf individuals. And now I'm a clinical supervisor at Macomb County, actually one of the clinics that they have there. And I work with staff that reach out to adults, children that have severely emotional disturbance as well as mental illness. I also did a stint at Black Family Development working with the juveniles that were some of the people that Trudy tested to help prevent them from getting into the system. So Trudy and I have been entwined for a long time, with me getting my master's and then going on for my doctorate, and I'm pulling her back saying, come on, now it's time for you to come get your doctorate along with me at the same place that I got mine from. And me sitting on her committee and pushing her on saying, we got this, we're gonna do this. So, but both of us have always been entwined, and we have always been involved with people and are concerned about people's well-being. And it's not just mentally, but it's emotionally, it's physically, and spiritually. And that's what both of us do.
I think that's wonderful, and thank you for giving us such detail as to your roadmap of how you have made a difference, I think, really in our community. And I wonder, hearing that, I know you're going to give us some statistics and the meat of the matter, but I wonder, hearing that, all of these different challenges that people face, especially in the inner city, from cognitive challenges to hearing impaired and differently abled, how has this pandemic impacted that? It must have just exacerbated that. And just as the hospitals are overrun with cases, I would imagine counselors and mental health professionals must be overrun with cases. So talk a little bit about that to us. Help the layman understand the mental health space a little bit, because when I think of mental health or mental wellness, I think of being able to have an equilibrium, mind, body, and soul to live my best life, right?
Right.
And to be able to handle or navigate the different things that might happen to me. But, you know, thinking of people who are differently abled or having other challenges, I would imagine this pandemic has really brought a lot of that to bear. So talk to us a little bit about that.
There's been a total shift. Our normal is not normal anymore. We have a new normal when we approach individuals and receive referrals for services across the board. Where before you had that face-to-face interaction, you could look somebody in the face, you could sit back and read body language, I mean, in the same room. So now with this complete shift, we're doing what we're doing right now.
Right. And you can't get all those intricate details just over a Zoom or Facebook Live. Sometimes in talking with the psychiatrists at my job, some of them are saying, I kind of want to go back in the office because then I can really tell how my people are doing. I can sort of see it, but I really will be able to know if I'm looking at them face to face, and I can really look in their eyes, because your eyes are definitely the seat where your soul is. You can see into it, but you can't always get it when you're like on a computer, really. And then some people are technically challenged that they don't know how to use it and use it appropriately, so they don't want to, and they don't want to have sessions like that. They like I need you close to me. I need you to be able to lean in so I can see that you know what's going on with me. And we don't have that right now.
I mean, like one of the rules is you don't keep, your distance. In order to engage someone, you need to have some distance to between you, I mean, together, as opposed to you're separated now by, possibly the dining room table. And then there's distractions. We're impacted by different state laws about how you converse with a person now, and what platform you can use and what you can't use. And there's a lot of different rules and regulations that a clinician, a therapist has to follow now, which was it was a lot before, but there's even more now.
Right. And not only that, there aren't enough therapists. Too many people are having issues because this is a long pandemic that we're in. We're back to square one again, where we're locked down. And so people are suffering, and it's not enough clinicians really to go around. People are constantly calling, but there's only so much when you only have a handful of people, and you have triple that amount now that are looking for services, not just in Michigan, but across the country that are looking for services. So right now, it's people are just hard pressed because they need to talk to someone and to feel all right again.
I want to ask you and pivot right there, because there are people that don't have anybody to talk to, right? And there are people who are going into this week. It's Tuesday. Thanksgiving is Thursday. I was just thinking about Brian. There are people who've lost a brother and sister-in-law, or a mother and a father. There's a member of Greater Christ, bless her heart. She lost 3 siblings during COVID. And so when you don't have anyone to talk to and to share your moments of grief and to talk it through, what do you do? What do you do, doctors?
Well, for some of it is that you might not have the connection right there in the household with you. but you might actually have some friends or associates. So now is the time when you're starting to set up circles, support circles, that you all can lean on each other, that you can make those phone calls to. I just was talking to a few of my sorority sisters this week that have lost their mothers. And I said, you know what? No sense of you trying to struggle alone. So let's do this. Let's plan for the 4 of us to have our own little Zoom meeting. And we get our little glass of wine and we just chill. We don't talk about the problems. We just share stories and enjoy each other. Because that way you're getting back into something. You're getting back into a community. Whereas sometimes when you have lost people, especially in this new norm, you separate and isolate yourself. And you don't want to be isolated. So you want to change that altogether. You want to start doing something different. You can also start thinking of different rituals you can do for yourself. Maybe you don't have those same people, but what did your parents like? What did your family members like? Did they like going out and sharing things or bringing dinners to other people? Can you start that back up? Can you maybe select somebody that's in your church or in your neighborhood that might be by themselves too, and you just surprise and drop off a turkey to them or some food to them? Sometimes we have to give, and that helps us feel better too, because that's what we do, and that's what this time is, a time of giving. I know for us, what we do sometimes is we just bought a few turkeys. We pass them out in our neighborhood to give back. You can't always be with who you want to be, but you can give, and you can start new rituals for yourself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And Dr. Trudy, go ahead.
It's almost like old school meets technology.
Yeah.
And, we got into this whole thing about texting and everything. And well, before texting, it was pagers. We got to go back to contacting people and calling them.
Right.
You would be surprised how a person feels after receiving a phone call, just to be asked, what's going on? And you start talking to that person and you start laughing and enjoying the conversation, that you almost start forgetting that you had a problem. You kind of put it to the side and focus on, somebody called me, somebody thought enough to contact me, other than sending me a typed message.
Right.
So that's why I say it's like old school meets technology.
But not only
with setting up the circles. We had our prayer circles. Remember, the prayer circles happened at, everybody's house once a week, or during Lent, it was, every night. You got to go back to that. Just put it on Zoom. Put it on Teams. Put it on Facebook. And you still have that connection, and the spirituality of it all still blossoms and still grows. I went to I actually went to 3 funerals last week, but one, I actually started missing being in the church a lot. I cried because it was a funeral, but I also cried because of missing that atmosphere, that connection, to actually sit in the same room with the minister giving the word and singing and hearing the voices, for myself, of people singing. And it was actually very good. If you want to call a funeral good, but it was inspiring. That's what I got out of it, for myself.
Yeah. I want to just dip into the comments really quickly. And Valencia Tate has joined us. Thank you so much, Sheila. Jeremy says our society has lost the art of communication. Valencia says you don't know how you made their day better just by calling. Angie says a simple hello. So making that connection. It sounds like, Dr. Hill, you were kind of grieving the missing that connection. Those tears were about the loss of that connection. And I know, Dr. Mareitta, you were going to say something, but just to be thinking, that loss of connection, it's hard to repair when it's around the holiday and everybody else is with family. So I do want you to talk a little bit about how does someone start these support circles for themselves, a little bit about that. But Dr. Alston, you were going to say something.
Well, just to comment, piggyback off of what Dr. Hale was saying regarding that we lost some art in communication, as Jeremy said. Just a simple card in the mail, to get a card saying, been thinking about you. Are you doing okay? Sometimes, back in the day, getting a piece of mail was really important, to run to that mailbox. And then especially for kids nowadays, for you to have their friends send like little cards or notes to each other, not just on Facebook, but sometimes, because we have a tendency of forgetting how children are grieving as well. Okay, so that's one of them. And a way to set up or start like a circle, a support circle, is start reaching out. You can start with your family first. What I did with my family is that I had a nephew that reached out to me. And this particular nephew, he doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't get on the phone a lot. He doesn't really communicate a lot, but he's there. This nephew called me and said, look, he said, I'm missing you guys. There's too much going on. Can we do a Zoom meeting? We have been doing a Zoom meeting with our family since then, every other week. That he set it up. And so now I'm talking with family in New York, in Philadelphia. His sister lives in Brunei, which is by Malaysia. So she gets on, Chicago, here. So it's a whole big thing, but it took one person to reach out. And sometimes we have to go beyond our comfort zone and say, I'm going to reach out to that family member. Yeah, we haven't talked a lot, but let's reach out, because we don't know how they're doing. And so we need to do that. My other thing is that sometimes when people pop up in your head, that's a sign. That means I need to call, find out what's going on. And you don't know, that can be another link into starting a different support circle, because you can have more than one. I have a group of sister friends. We call every 3 or 4 weeks. They're in Texas and California and here. But we meet, and then we bring in our spouses and our children, and we all sit around and we talk for an hour and a half. And then not only that, when you do your circles, you can play games, you can do trivia, you can do bingo, you can do Pictionary.
Movies.
Yes.
Watch movies together.
Right. It's a lot that you can do. So sometimes it's just going beyond that and just getting one person. Because when you get that one person, sometimes that fire starts and it spreads.
I think that's excellent. And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to talk a little bit about, and Dr. Alston, we talked a little bit about it earlier, about our community. When I'm saying our community, the African-American community is communal, right? And so we are used to having that extra hand or extra hug or extra plate or extra whatever to help us navigate it. And because of the restrictions, we've been unable to do that. So I want to hear from you, both of you, what are ways that we might be able to make some semblance of that for ourselves? I know we can do some of that on Zoom, but nothing replaces that human touch, right? Nothing replaces that connection. So what are some of the ways that people who have been watching people literally all year long? I mentioned earlier, Dr. Hale to Dr. Alston, that I was talking to an individual who in Detroit here, we had this 1,500 person memorial at Belle Isle for people who passed from COVID-related illnesses or passed from COVID. And there were people who were literally riding around who were learning of people that passed that they did not know had passed. So it was just reigniting that same wound. You don't get to close the wound. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. As soon as we come back, we're talking with Drs. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams. We'll be right back right after this quick break.
Welcome to Powerful Money Tools, LLC. At Powerful Money Tools, we are here to prepare for your future. We want to talk about financial freedom. Financial freedom is budgeting, credit building, and also financial education. So once again, welcome to Powerful Money Tools, LLC. We can't wait to help you in your financial future.
That was Christina Smith, who's a member of our Love and Stuff community and has her own financial services business. She was one of our title sponsors for our event, and she is just helping many people, especially women, get your finances and credit together. So you should look her up if you're looking to get yourself set for 2021. I know 2020 has been something beyond anything you'd ever hope to describe. But let's look forward and let's get our business together. Reach out to Powerful Money Tools, LLC. Thank you, Christina. And we're talking with Drs. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams about mental wellness or mental health during the holidays. And so as I had mentioned right before that quick break, and Valencia is asking us a question about well, I don't know. Did you buy it? That's what I want to know. Did you buy it? Let's talk offline. Okay. I digress. So this compounded grief every time. I stopped counting at 50 people.
Oh, yeah.
I figured it didn't make good sense to me to keep counting because it was not going to make me feel better. I wasn't able to make most of those services, and normally being in music ministry, you're at every service, right? You are singing over the body, you are encouraging the family, and you're mourning along with the parishioners that you worshiped along with as well. And so I had zero opportunity really to have individual times to grieve and hold the hands of those family who have become extended family, right? I only had the privilege of attending one. And I just, I think we were so focused on the environment and being safe and not trying to social distance that we really couldn't be in a real cadence of what we normally do. And that is come together and be support for each other, to tell those stories, as I think Dr. Alston was talking about earlier, and help to navigate through it. So now that we are here in November, it's been since March, we have stopped counting. How do we start in this holiday season getting some hold of ourselves while we're still steeped in a grief that we really haven't delineated for many people?
Well, I think part of it, what we need to do is to step back a moment and breathe. That's number one. We need to breathe, and we need to check in with ourselves to see where are we at right now. If that means that you're at a point right now where you can't hear anymore about any more deaths or anybody else in the hospital, then you have to look at, okay, I need to stop watching the news because I can't deal with hearing those numbers every day. I need to, brother so-and-so that calls, I know when he calls, he's telling me somebody's passed. So maybe that's somebody you don't take the calls from all the time. So you have to learn how to put some distance between that pain and that hurt. But then you also have to look at, as a family or a group, to say, okay, when things get better, how are we going to celebrate life? How are we going to celebrate life for us having survived and the life that we lost of that loved one? So what are we going to do when we're able to do it? So some things we can do is set up where we're going to start a tradition, and maybe on this person's birthday, they love to barbecue. We're going to come together when we can, and we're going to barbecue in remembrance of that person. Or maybe it's like my uncle, he loved doing puzzles. So we would do a puzzle, or his children could do a puzzle, something like that. Start something new, a new tradition to help ease that, and to say when we have the ability that we are going to come together, love on each other, hold each other, because we are a people that during grieving, we might not be touchy-feely all the time, but during that time, we are definitely touchy-feely, and we need that physical. So we can do that. Just coming up with different things of how to celebrate that person's life. Start a memory box that you can put stuff in. Start something where if you do a Zoom, each individual tell you something about that person. Come up with a way to remember the person and to love on each other and allow each other. Don't stop people from crying when they start talking about the individual. Let people grieve and let it come out.
And Dr. Trudy, I wanted to double back to you because I know you had some statistics that you were going to share with us. Can you share some of those with us?
Well, one thing about right now with the holidays, and we're in a pandemic, and then, believe it or not, this is the time for seasonal depression.
Right.
On top of everything else. Because we have shorter days.
Right.
It gets darker early. It stays darker later. And in any normal time, at least 10 million people are dealing with this kind of level of depression.
Wow. 10 million.
At least 10 million.
Wow.
And it's normal.
Wow.
Because you experience your body, the clock in your body is changing. Just when you got used to it being warm and, it's bright out when you go out in the morning and it's still bright when you come in the evening. It's not that way now.
Right.
So every year there's a tendency to go through this depressing period on top of a pandemic, on top of losses. And also this time of year is when most people who are also experiencing true emotional challenges, this is like a roller coaster for them too. So you got all of this going on, and it's very common.
Right.
Especially if you live in Michigan, because we're further away from the sunny part of the world, which would be closer to the equator, versus we're, midpoint almost to, the North Pole. So we're going to experience that. But it's also about self-care during this period of time.
Okay. With
the traditions. And it's interesting how Dr. Austin Williams described the new traditions, because when there was a funeral during that time period, either before and after, you were sitting in someone's house.
Right.
And you were cracking jokes. And you were talking, you were telling all their business and and you were swapping stories.
Yeah.
And it was our way of grieving.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just, we still can do that, but we just have to do it differently.
Right.
In order to stay safe.
Right.
And we need to do that in order to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, Tamuk is saying in the comments, at this point, dealing with the long-term effects of PTSD is going to be a very long process. Do you agree with that?
I agree that.
Yeah.
I do agree with that wholeheartedly. This whole thing, everything is going to be longer to process through. It just will. And especially since we keep going in and out of it, it would be different if we were in it, came out of it, and it was done. Then we could start getting better. But now we were in it in March. We came out a little bit in the summer. Now we back to lockdown. And so it makes life harder because we're back in the middle of it again. And this is even worse because in most areas, the numbers have increased. The deaths have increased. So it makes it hard. And so, yeah, it's going to be a longer process to get past this. But I say that to say, this is also the time to reach out and get some services. If you're feeling those effects, to reach out to the mental health clinicians, to reach out to family and friends. Don't do it alone. Do it with someone.
Now, if people are, but if this normal is this kind of seasonal depression, how do you really know when you're trending in the bad and in the wrong? Because we're all kind of, I won't say we're all depressed, right? But we're all longing for longer days and lighter days and experiencing darker days. Heck, we had this president for 4 years. We had dark days.
Right.
So what are some signs that you might be trending where you do need to talk to somebody, you do need to talk to a professional, or you do need to start building a support group? What are some of those signs?
Some of them can be, the signs are where you feel like you can't get out of bed, when you are so overly tired, but there's no reason for you to be overly tired, when you seem to have lost interest of doing anything, things that you used to do, you don't want to do anymore. You don't have the energy to even try to do it anymore. When you feel lonely and you with people, but you're still lonely. When you're feeling blue, you just feeling blue. I can't do anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't feel like eating. I don't want, or I'm overeating. Because right now we dealing with the COVID-19 that people have put on. Those 19 pounds, 20 pounds. But you have to check in with yourself to say, am I doing the same things I used to do? Or am I like kind of laying around more than what I used to? And when I talk to my consumers or patients, however you want to call them, that have seasonal affective disorder, I would tell them that you want to do to help with that is that you want to get outside more. I know it's cold, but take a brisk walk.
You'd be surprised what sun does for you.
Right. Or there are actually lights that you can buy that imitate sunlight that helps your affect. It means that you push yourself a little bit more. Like, okay, I'm going to stay in bed 1 more hour. No. Set your, maybe set your alarm to snooze for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, get up. But put those little things in place to push you to move on instead of staying in the bed. Push yourself to reach out to some people. But those are just some of the things that you will see when you're feeling blue right now. During this season, don't overspend, because sometimes people overspend to compensate because they're feeling bad, they're feeling blue, and they want to give to everybody. This is not that kind of time. People don't have money like that. So when you spend what you don't have, that makes you depressed because that bill will come. They don't stop coming. They don't stop. So you got to remember that. So don't overextend yourself. And don't promise things to people that you can't do. So if you told your aunt that, okay, I'm going to do some dressing, I'm going to drop it by your house because I know you like my dressing, but you yourself saying, I don't want to do that. It's okay to say no. You have the right to say no. I hope that helped a little bit.
That helps a lot. So I should tell my credit. You can't tell your creditors, but I was depressed. I need more time. I bought that car because I was depressed.
That's not going to work.
No, it's not going to work.
Just thought I'd ask. Okay. Just thought I'd ask. And so I know so 10 million is one of the statistics that you share with us, which I think is a large number. And
that's just America.
That's just America. Yeah. So to our friends that may be listening in Nigeria and other places, that's just America. 10 million. And do you know anything about the demographic? What is that as it relates to ethnicity and gender? Or is it more African American?
Well, of course, women are more likely to experience it than men.
Okay.
If you live, again, as I said, further north you live away from the equator, the tendency for it to happen, because like I said, sun does wonders. You get so much from sunlight.
That vitamin D.
Even just, riding around town, you can still be safe. You with yourself. You don't have to put your mask on.
Right.
In your car, go for a nice drive. Get that sun through the window. A couple of days it was okay to let the window down a little and let the air breathe on you. But you're out. You're involved in some type of activity.
Right.
Okay.
And it can rejuvenate you, just like, you think of yourself as a plant.
Right.
And if that plant doesn't get any water or sun, it's going to start drooping. And that's basically what people start to do from being inside so long. And the one person mentioned about the PTSD, we're all sort of on that borderline because it's that fear of catching the virus.
Yeah.
Right.
So even when we know that we are in a better place sooner than later, we're still going to be leery. You're going to want to, and then you're going to think about it and you're going to draw back. Yeah. And it's not personal.
Yeah. And Dr. Trudy, for those people who have contracted the virus and have survived and are now having complications down the road, or even those that were asymptomatic, it creates another kind of hysteria. What are the after effects to my body, to my kidneys, to my heart?
Right.
So you're right. You're kind of living on the edge, wondering when is the next part of the shoe going to drop.
Right. And part of what we have to do is, I don't want to say that just to trust the medical system, but really we do. Try to make sure that you have a connection with your doctor so that you can speak to them about how you're feeling, what's going on. I mean, I have a good connection with my doctor, so I will call him in a minute and say, or, send him a message through email, say, okay, I'm not sure what this is, but I'm not quite feeling right. And he'll let me know either way, whether I need to do a video one with him or he'll call me. But to get a connection with your doctor, and we as a people, we're not really into doctors, just like we're not into therapists as a people. And we need to be, when we do talk to our doctors, to be upfront with them, just to let them know that what's really going on with us, because we have a tendency to cover stuff up. We don't tell everything when we really need to, especially when it's dealing with our health. People are going to be skittish, just like people are going to be skittish about whenever the vaccine comes out. It's going to happen. But that's your choice, how you want to deal with that. If you're willing to take it, or if you don't want to take it, you want to wait and see, it's up to you. But at least talk with your family, talk with your doctor to find out if that's something that you need to do.
Yeah. We're talking with Drs. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams about mental health and the holidays. And I just want to double back to the comments. I see Kamal Williams, Lena Brown. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much. Also see Valencia Etner, and she says, good evening, two of my favorite upperclassmen. Cass Tech is here.
Yes.
Grateful for Dr. Alston and Hale helping the community. Thank you, my friends. Valerie Grant has joined us. Thank you so much. Rod Marshall has joined us. Thank you, sir. Tamuk Scruggs is saying, take the dark out, curtains down. Okay. And Valencia says, just TSD, post has not come yet. So she's asserting that we're not to a post TSD, we're at TSD. Yeah,
right.
We haven't gotten into that post yet.
Right.
All right, I'm just checking to see. Oh, all right, very good. All right, yep, you can drop your questions and comments in the comments, not my inbox. I can't monitor them both. I'm trying to monitor what I can monitor, but drop those in the comments. And so from the inbox, one of the persons who's dealing with the loss of a spouse from COVID, and she just doesn't have the get up and go to do anything. This has been since, I think, June. And so she's at the holidays, and she, has turned down the invitation, I guess, to go with her children, grown children, and she just wants to stay at home. Not knowing all of the particulars, what advice would you give to someone whose spouse, they didn't get to hold that spouse's hand and say goodbye, and they had to say goodbye, and now they're at their first holiday without their spouse? What advice would you provide to her?
It's a grieving process. And for a better word, it's somewhat normal to grieve like this. And at some point, it's going to turn to anger. It's going to turn to joy at some point, and then go back to anger. But it's part of the grieving process. But most of all, now a person will have to learn how to take care of themselves in spite of. And it's going to take a while. And being by yourself sometimes is part of the grieving process also, in order to process the love you had for that person. And children are not going to understand that because they might not have been there in the beginning or knew what happened once the door closed. So it's a process that a person has to go through and not think that it's the end of the world. But sometimes you just want to walk around the house and start talking to that person. But still keep that connection with family or friends, the church. Because people are going to worry about you. And they should.
Right.
And you need to let somebody know what's going on with you. And that comes back to talking to people and not necessarily the therapist, because now you got to get to that point that you trust an outsider to understand. Because as a culture, we don't tell anything outside of our family and our business. That was number one rule. We don't be going to the schoolhouse, telling that teacher all our business.
Right.
So it's a different way of the same process of grieving, and it's going to take longer because remember, we were only supposed to be home a couple of months, and then it ended up being 6 months, and now it's to March of next year. Is that what I read earlier today? Possibly.
Possibly. Yeah.
So it's part of the grieving process.
Right.
And it's different stages of grieving.
Right. And then also for that family, even though she says she doesn't want it, I wouldn't stop the family for checking in.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't mean to
smother them.
Right. But it means to just check in. Hey mom, just checking to see how you doing. Don't want to stay on the phone long, but I just want to make sure, or even just say, do you have something to eat? We can just drop something off on the porch. We don't have to stay. You know, just to reach out to know. And then sometimes, like I said, you can send a card because then that's something tangible in the hand. And sometimes in that card, if you have pictures or if you have some memories or some memories that you can jot down and put it in the card and send it. And then you don't even have to send it. You can just put it in the mailbox if you're in the same city. But you don't have to evade their grieving process because they've already told you that. But I would not allow that person to be that isolated for that length of time, for a long length of time. Okay. I would definitely.
What is generally a long length of time when you say a long length of time?
When I hear somebody saying that they don't want to be around anybody, when I hear someone saying that they have no energy, when I hear somebody saying that I'm crying every single day, all day long, when I hear people saying that I don't have an appetite, I can't sleep at night, then we're talking about that person needs some help. That they can't do it alone. They need to go that extra step and talk with someone, because you have to understand grief can eventually go over into severe depression. And depression doesn't stop always just with talk therapy. Because depression is like a whirlpool pulling you down. And you need sometimes medication to stop that pull, because your chemicals in your brain have changed because you've been depressed for such a length of time.
And I just want to double back to make sure I'm following. What is a long time though? Is a month too long to isolate? Is 3 weeks too long? You know, does it really just depend on if they exhibit some of these other signs that you're describing?
I think it kind of depends. It depends on the person and how well you know that person. If that person was social before and had contacts, but now for like 3 months or 3 weeks, they've like shut everybody out. Nobody can reach them. Nobody can talk to them. They don't want to talk to them. Then that's a little bit more than just your regular normal grieving. And you might want them to get some help. But you can also, you have to know the person to see how big the change is. You know what I'm saying? If you're just like somebody you just associate with and you don't see them that much, or you don't talk to them that much, you don't notice it. But if it's somebody that you see on a regular basis, talk to on a regular basis, and then they just dropped out of it from everybody, then I would be concerned. So it kind of depends on the person and your relationship with them for you to judge where they are. And then before you send them maybe for some help or suggest that, you try to reach out to them and be that support. You also have Zoom support groups now that's dealing with grief. So there are different things that you can do. And I know like Oakland County for Thursday, they're actually for senior citizens and people that are living at home alone. They have like a 1 hour or 2 hour span where you can get on their call for free and just be with a group of people for support.
And a lot of those aren't just necessarily Zoom. You can call in.
Right.
Okay.
And have that, and you still have that voice contact.
Right.
Okay.
So you don't have to isolate yourself.
Right.
And if you watch a loved one begin to isolate themselves, the more that you know that person and you notice subtle changes or large changes is when you should start to intervene.
Right.
And maybe, get them to talk or maybe ask them to talk to someone else. Is that what you're saying?
Right. And there's certain things, because people get depressed enough to where they're thinking about not being here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you get a person that starts talking to you like that, saying, well, I just don't want to be here anymore, or why should I even live? People start giving things away. Then my thing is, you're going to just ask them outright. So are you thinking about hurting yourself? And then my next question is, are you thinking about killing yourself? Because some people get to that point that they grieve for so long that they don't want to be here. And you don't want to miss those signs. And that's when you get help immediately. That's not when you wait like a week or two. That's when right then and there, you're picking this person up, taking them to the hospital to get evaluated, or calling. We've got a list of numbers that we gave you, Marcus, that people can reach out to call to get evaluated via Skype, via Zoom, so they can get the help they need.
Yeah.
But if anybody starts talking like that, that's not a wait and see. That's an immediate.
Yeah. And I will certainly post that in the comments, and I'll share a screen at the end in case someone wants to glean from that information. I think it's very important. I want to ask this. I'm just curious. I know earlier you said women are more likely to go into depression than men. And I know in the African American community, at least from my experience, I'm not, of course, I'm just on the panel. I'm just decorations today. But men are less likely to talk about their pain. We're working in our Love and Stuff community, doctors. J. Gerald Harvey is our senior associate producer, and we're working with the brothers that are in the Love and Stuff community. And it's really a delightful challenge, is what I'm going to call it, to get brothers to open up and trust other brothers that either they don't know yet, or to trust other people that might have some clinical expertise. Because in our community, we just really haven't gotten to the place where we talk about, I'm hurt, I'm broken, I'm depressed, I'm angry. And the whole notion of being angry with God, which is a whole nother show we could do, people being angry and being able to articulate that and say, I'm angry because God took my mother, or I'm angry because I wasn't able to hold her hand, or I'm angry for this or that. A lot of men don't address that. So my concern, I almost said fear, but my concern is that it'll be after the tipping point for men when you can get them to talk. So what can we do as an intervention to help brothers feel like they can be comfortable enough to say, I'm feeling lonely, or I don't want to be by myself on Thanksgiving, or I've been isolating? What can we do?
I think part of what we're doing now is for you to state that. And with you setting that up, with you're attempting to do it now, to just continue to do that and continue to reach out. It's how men are brought up. Men are brought up that I'm supposed to handle everything. If I don't, that makes me less of a man.
Weak.
But you're not less of a man. That makes you a whole man. When you be able to say, I am in pain and I'm hurting. But bringing up, men are told not to cry. Men are told not to share their feelings with anybody else. Men are told that you're going to be fine no matter what, so you don't need anybody. And you're the bread earner. You are the head of the household. How dare you not be strong enough to get through this. And so we have to, as a community, wrap ourselves around our men and say, it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think less of you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that needs to come more from the pulpit. I think it needs to come more over the airwaves. I think it needs to come more in settings like this, that we believe in you, we trust you, we are going to uphold you and lift you up and let you know it's all right for you to be who you are, even if that means that you're in pain. We're here to help you with that pain.
Yeah, I'm going to replay this portion of it to myself so I can write it down, Dr. Mareitta, because when I'm talking to, and I'm really serious, when I'm talking to brothers, it's difficult because that's our orientation is be tough as nails.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let them see you sweat.
Right.
You ain't no punk, you ain't no all of that. So that's something that we'd have to unlearn. And that's tough because we are expected to be the breadwinner and expected to be a winner every day,
right?
Based on what society says a man winning looks like. So that's very tough. I want to just read from the comments really quickly. Jeremy C. Haynes says, as a former service member, I've come to understand and believe mental illness health is a real thing. For years, I experienced some of these symptoms being shared and had no clue I suffered with mental illness. And the lack of knowledge about mental illness health is very toxic to the individual and those they come in contact with. Jeremy, thanks for sharing. You're absolutely correct. And I don't mean to diminish the power of prayer and faith, but I think sometimes people say, well, just pray about it. And they really needed to tell you, just talk about it. Really, when we said, I must tell Jesus, we really aren't telling him. We really aren't bearing of our souls in a way that we can share all to get some healing in an area of our lives. And so I think you're spot on with that comment, and I applaud you for coming forward. Valencia says, churches can help. I started a monthly support group in 2018. We meet on Zoom and phone for members and anyone who is in the need of a support community. And I just hope for more churches to do that. I'm not saying that churches don't, but more churches need to do that, right? Aaron says, what you're describing now is post-traumatic. We definitely do have it. I do believe that. But I do believe, and maybe you're speaking to it, Darren, that brothers are trained not to let them see you sweat.
Right.
And that can be to their detriment. And I'm just wondering and calling out to the brothers today who are going into this Thanksgiving holiday. One that I'm thinking of, his father passed from COVID. And just talk about being tough as nails. And I said, hey, you don't have to be tough for me. I've lost my father. I didn't lose him to COVID, but there is no way that you lose a father that you've had in your life as a man and it doesn't speak to your mortality. So if your father had lung cancer, as mine did, if your father is shot by an assassin, or if your father passes from COVID, it all makes you grapple with your mortality. And so I tried to get him to open up, and it's like, oh no, I'm just going to be good. And then several months later, it was like, I'm not good. I was so proud of him to say, I'm good, because it takes courage to say, I'm not good. This is a world where it's lights, camera, action. It's on 24/7, and that's a lot of pressure for brothers. So any extra tips that you can give to them, that is great.
Right. Some other things that you can do too is that we have to start from when the boys are brought home from the hospital and letting them know that they are loved and that they have feelings. It's time out for when a little boy falls, you tell them, get up, you're not hurt. It's time out for that.
And the one phrase I hate, man up.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Right.
It means conform to what we all know isn't true. That your shell is invincible. It really isn't. It's what's beneath the shell that really stands the test of time. But we make a formidable life around saying it is how you stand in bravado as a man that makes you a man.
Right. And some of the things that men can do to help themselves too is that working out, because that's a manly thing, and to work out and even Zoom working out with a workout partner. You can just share a little of what's going on. Like if you pumping out, this has been a rough week. This is what's been happening to me. I need some help. But it's not where it's like possibly that they're feeling vulnerable because they're doing something that men do.
Okay, gotcha.
Does that make sense?
That's a great idea.
So you want to do some things like that to draw them in, to get men to open up, because they don't open up. Women like to go in for the majority, because then you do have this class of super women that hold the family together, the glue. Okay, so that's a whole nother category right there. So, but you're gonna and forgive me for talking with my hands. I'm so used to signing.
Oh, that's okay. I talk with my hands too, and I'm not signing. So,
so you want to be able to reach out and get them and hook them in by their manhood, by things that they acknowledge. This is what I think a man is. Okay, well, we're going to acknowledge that. But while we're acknowledging that and we're coming together and we're talking about this and these manly things, but look at this. You're a human, and every human has emotions. You can't disconnect from them. You can't disregard them, because if you do that, they come back with a vengeance. That's when you're talking about when you take it and you stuff your emotions down. That's when you have sicknesses. That's when you start having blood pressure. That's when you start having heart problems, your strokes, your heart attacks. All of that comes from stuffing stuff down and not opening up.
Aria is saying, but men are beautiful humans too, and they deserve to receive care just as much as they give care. They are only human. They just look superhuman. Thank you for that, Aria. Appreciate that. Tammy Williams has joined us. Thanks so much for coming. I hope you will click share. We're talking with Drs. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams about mental wellness or mental health in the holidays. And many people are going into Thursday. They're obeying the strong encouragement, at least here in Michigan and other places. They have been a lot stronger, but strong encouragement to only have 2 households max at the dinner table. So there are many people that are going to be on Zoom, or people that are going to be alone. And this might be their first holiday without one of their loved ones, without being able to touch, being able to kiss, because we be kissing, hugging, laughing, joking, playing bid whist, but I guess you can play that on Zoom. All of the things that you would do that connect people together, which has been for us our orientation. So now we're pivoting to navigate it slightly different. So as we're 2 days away from Thanksgiving, and some people might dread it and have anxiety. Should anybody sleep through it? Is that a way to go through the holiday? Just take you I don't know what you take to sleep, some melatonin, and just try to sleep all day. Is that a way to handle it?
No, because then you're stuffing it. You're stuffing those emotions, and when it comes out, it's gonna come out with a vengeance.
Right.
It's just one of those hurdles we're gonna have to cross, and it's something we all have to get through.
Right. And
I don't know anybody that has not suffered something as a result of this pandemic.
Right. Not one. I think everybody, if it's not personal, they know somebody that knows somebody. So we're all affected. And I was just thinking about that one where you're talking about a spouse that possibly has passed, how to celebrate it. I'll never forget, I had a licensing supervisor, and when he died, at the funeral, they played their song. and she danced in front of the casket to the song.
Wow.
Yes, she did.
She did. It was like, oh my Lord. You could feel it. And so I'm saying, if you all have favorite music, set yourself a playlist up and dance in the house.
Wow.
Because you're there with them. Your memories are there. And just dance. That can help you as well.
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice, and I think Dr. Trudy said it earlier, that my pastor gave me, said, when my mother passed, he said, talk to her.
Yeah.
And I said, you talk to your mom? Because his mom had passed. He said, yeah, I talked to my mom. He said, talk to her. I said, okay, now she run me out the house because she started talking back.
That's okay.
He said, talk to her and watch her voice come to you in ways that are familiar to you and comforting to you.
Right.
And so that has worked for me. I mean, different things work for different people, of course, but it's one of the things that I do, you know, when I'm getting ready to make a recipe that I've committed to memory that she made. I'll say, now, how much again of this? And my mom is notorious for saying, oh, a little bit of this or that. And I know that would be her answer, but just hear it in my memory, that voice, sometimes gave me great solace just to, you know, make it through that meal or make it through cooking.
Right.
So, you know, that's something that I would do. So, but I love it that she danced at the casket and, you know.
That was her tribute to her husband.
Wow. Yeah, Angela is saying she talks to her dad. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Gold Raj has joined us as well. What are some of the other things? So we're not going to sleep through the entire day. We're not going to do that.
No.
My feelings are a little hurt already because we're not having a parade. And me and Autumn go to the parade since she was about 4 years old. Now they're going to have it on TV, but that just is not
the same.
It's not the same. Now, of course, there are bigger things that I could worry about. We're here and we're healthy.
Right.
But it's a tradition that we've had, and it just signals to me that times are changing. You know, we've got to pivot, but you know,
that means you got to come up with
time-honored traditions. I can't do. What do you do when you can't do those time-honored traditions?
So you got to come up with a new one. You got to figure out a new tradition. You can't just say, okay, Thanksgiving is just I can't do it anymore. I can't go to the parade. Well, then you have to come up with something that's going to be a new tradition for you too. If it means that I know that you taught Autumn to cook, I know that you're not cooking the whole Thanksgiving dinner like you used to in the past, but maybe you all can be together in the kitchen, and that can be a new tradition. Things like that. Come up with a new tradition to do.
I thought you were going to say we need to just get our own parade going down the street.
I was thinking that, but the issue is because it's Thanksgiving and the way we are right now, and we want to touch and we want to hug, I don't believe people will be able to stay in their cars.
Oh no. We really make the spike go up.
Right. So, but that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, well, dang, we can just we can do a drive-by at different houses.
Yeah. We could all go down 7 Mile and do a parade. Yeah. But you're right. We would stop traffic and we would be out of our cars hugging. You're right.
Yeah. So we have to do something a little safer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Because we want to get to next Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we still got Christmas.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we come up with these new traditions now, we can perfect them by the next holiday.
Yeah, right. We're hoping for a reprieve, Dr. Trudy, by Christmas. I don't know. It's tough, but you know, Christmas again is another holiday, and it's about giving and it's about family. You know, so that is another tough one. Kay Jones has joined us. Thanks for coming. We're talking to Dr. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams about mental health and the holidays. Tammy Williams is saying, on Thanksgiving, I get up early and cook and speak with my mom, grandma, and aunt. That's how we cooked on the holiday, keeping the memories, but also trying to add new memories with my husband. That's my niece, and she's right. They will be in the kitchen, though my sister Adrian wouldn't be doing as much cooking as she would be doing talking, but they would be in the kitchen and they would be cooking. I think the only contribution my dad would make is that he would clean the chitlins and the greens.
Okay.
But the rest of the meal, my mom and sisters made from scratch, and Tammy picked up that cooking. So it is important to keep those traditions alive. It's just tough, especially in this time when, like I said, I stopped counting at 50 of church members. So thinking of the Thanksgiving Day service, I'm thankful we're going to be online, because I don't think I could be in person and just see where they used to sit.
Right.
And just, it breaks your heart to think about how many people have transitioned during this time and season. So it's difficult, but I think you're offering some great opportunities for people to transition. And Love and Stuff, we're planning on Thanksgiving at different points throughout the day to just open a Zoom room so that if people feel alone or want to come, they can just come in and have some fellowship and some conversation with some familiar faces. What are some other things that you might say people should do on Thanksgiving Day if they're going to be alone?
Well, one of the things Dr. Austin Williams talked about was taking something and letting them know it's on your front porch.
Yeah.
Right.
You went to the store and you bought one pie, buy 2 pies. Because you're going to take it to somebody and give it to them.
Right.
Sometimes it's not about, the family eating, together. It's about being thankful that you are able to eat, period, and might want to share that with someone else.
Yeah.
A lot of the churches and organizations have been giving out food and turkeys. All these past couple of days and the previous weekend, that was opportunity to still, give back. There's lots of things you can do to still uphold to the traditions of giving and being thankful.
Yeah, Aria says, watch football and laugh at the Lions.
I was thinking that.
Leave my Lions alone, even though they're going to lose. But leave them alone.
Right.
That's because they don't have the fans sitting there.
Right.
Telling them what to do.
But things like that are normal that you used to do anyway, you still can do. I would just zoom in with different people or call people on the phone and say, look, did you just see that play? What's wrong? Those kind of things. You still can do those things. Get on Facebook. Facebook lights up when there's like football games and whatnot. Everybody going after each other saying, okay, well, this is state, that's Michigan, and y'all don't do this, y'all don't do that. And it's like good fun. I'm with state, okay. But it's good fun. It's give yourself an opportunity to laugh and to enjoy. Laughter is part of what helps cure you, is to laugh. I would tell people, and this is what I did with my husband. What we did was after his brother died, his sister-in-law died, and his aunt, all within 2 weeks.
Wow.
We watched like just hilarious movies on Netflix, on Hulu. We went to stuff that sometimes didn't make an ounce of sense, but it was funny. Just to laugh, because sometimes if you don't, you think so much on what's going on that's all you can do is cry. But if you watch some silly stuff, then you can start letting go. Like one of the things we watch, and I don't know if people watch this, but we're just like silly like this, like The Fifth Element. I
love that movie.
It's hilarious, so we watch stuff like that. We watched The Incredibles 2 with Jack. Oh, just hilarious. We just watch stuff like that over and over again until our souls get some of that goodness back in it and remove some of that sadness out. So that helps. Or like me, just doing silly things to make them laugh. Sometimes you just got to do things like that for your folks. But whatever you can to help brighten your mood, do it. Then also listen to music that uplifts you, because we are a musical people. So music is part of our soul. Listen to that. Listen to, for me, there's certain gospel music or gospel songs that just takes me to a different level. Same with him. And I noticed for him, with him being a church musician, he'll go downstairs in the basement to where his keyboards are and play it through, play through his grief. Just like I know some singers, they sing through their grief. So sometimes you have to go through it. With me signing, I'm not no soloist, will never be a soloist, but I will sign. And so I can sign through some of what I'm feeling. So just find some things like that. Maybe you write, maybe you're a painter, maybe you journal. Do whatever you need to help yourself and lighten the load.
Self-care.
Right?
Yes. We're 4 minutes to 10 o'clock, and I have enjoyed having you both. I plan to have you back. I hope that you will come back to talk more about mental health, because I believe that there's still this taboo around it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That, if we talk about mental health, that means mental illness. And if we talk about mental illness, that means you're crazy and a lost cause.
No.
Right. So that's not true.
To the extent that we can start to peel back some of that and disarm that narrative, I certainly think it's important, because I think you're right. You described what I think most African-American men, and maybe many women, do, is we push, we suppress and press down, and we end up being with all of these health challenges and issues, because we don't acknowledge that we need to talk to someone, or that we need a different way of coping and navigating the tough things that happen in our lives. And tough stuff is going to happen to us. And whether or not we develop some resilience around it could be life or death for any of us, right? Especially if there are any predispositions to any types of challenges. We don't help those if we are not doing the self-care and not in some support system, not finding a way to raise our voice, raise the alarm that we need some help navigating. And so until we get away from the taboo around that, I think we'll find ourselves still pressing down and pushing down. So as we head to a close, if you'll look in the camera, both of you, and talk to those individuals, just share with them why it's so important. Though we have all been, as you said, Dr. Trudy, everybody has been impacted in some way by this pandemic. But look into the camera and talk to us and tell us, why it's so important that we find a path to wholeness and healing for ourselves.
You're the most important thing in your life.
That's right.
And you need to take care of you.
We want you to be here next year. That's so important. We need you. Every person on here, we need you. Your families need you. Your friends need you. Your church needs you. And more than anything, as Dr. Hale said, you need you. And there's no other person that's more important than you. And if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. Take care of you. Love on you, forgive you. That's all we can do, is ask you to do those things. And it doesn't matter if you don't get a chance to complete all of it, because I look at it like you're walking down the street. You can make 2 or 3 steps. So what if you make 1 step back, but you're still 2 steps ahead? Keep walking. Keep going.
Elena Cross has joined us. Jeffrey Boykin, thank you both for joining. I'm so glad that you did. As we're closing up, I hope that you will watch from the beginning. We've been talking to Dr. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams about mental health and the holidays. And I know for many people that have come through the room, this is your first holiday without a significant person in your life. And we just want you to know that you're going to make it. You're building resilience to make it through. And I'm going to share the screen with some of the resources that were provided to us. Hopefully I can get them up on the screen. Okay, these are the resources. And I will also drop these in the comments. Wait a minute, that ain't the document. Oh, Lord. Let's make sure we got it. Okay, hold on one second. I will make sure we drop these in the comments so that you have them. I tried to get them on the screens because I want you to have every resource that's available to you. There's some national hotline information and local stuff for those of you that are in Michigan, but I'm sure there are hotlines that are state to state because you want to make sure that you have someone, even if you in one instance, doctors, I know of a person who has lost, there were 4 people in the family and they've lost 3. And they don't have siblings or in-laws to fall back on. So they really feel alone. But really, if you just think about who you were connected to pre-COVID.
Right.
And start to do what Dr. Austin said, and I think Dr. Hale said, begin to reach out and build your own support system. And it's going to take some courage to say, I need help or I need touch, and that's okay. I know we are wired that we can do it ourselves, but no man is an island and no woman is either. Right. But reach out, build your support system. Think about the people that you'd like to sit and have coffee with that you had not had coffee with since COVID. Reach out to them. Think about that coworker that you halfway get along with. Reach out to him or her. Think about that distant cousin who you rarely talk to, but you always have a good conversation with. Reach out to him or her. Connect with someone. Just a little bit of connection will help change your perspective about being all by yourself. Because I really believe it's a trick of the enemy that wants us to believe that we're by ourselves. And if he can get us by ourselves, thinking that we're by ourselves, we'll make decisions about ourselves by ourselves that we should not make.
That's true.
And so I'm hopeful that you will get that information. I will certainly make sure that I get it on the screen share. Dr. Trudy Hale, Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams, thank you both. I appreciate you so much, and we will be having you back very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love being here.
Thank you. Well, I am so excited to have had both of these doctors. As you can see, they're beautiful souls and they're just down-to-earth persons. I don't know if they're available for one-on-one consultation. You'd have to inbox them and see about that. But I think that what we've all learned today is that everybody needs somebody. And if you take that forward with you, that you're not alone. You might be by yourself. You might be in your home living alone. But there is the opportunity for you to connect to someone so that you are not alone in this Thanksgiving season. And if for you, this is your first season without that loved one, without that spouse, without your children, without your siblings, without your parents, I'm so very sorry. I am so very sorry. I know what it is to be there. Having lost 3 siblings and both my parents, I know what it is to approach a holiday and not want to celebrate. And I will just share with you what Princess Holmes, bless her memory, my beautiful mother, shared with me one Thanksgiving in 2012 when I had decided that I was not going to cook. She said, you have the right and you can reserve the right to grieve as deeply and as long as you need to, but you must also reserve the right to take inventory of and be grateful for everything and everyone that you have left. It still brings me chills. This was from a woman who had buried her husband and 3 of her children, telling me to be grateful for and take inventory of what's left. And I challenge you to do the same thing. Even if you think you've lost everything, I want you to look again and take inventory of and be grateful for, even if it's through tears, even if it's through pain, even if it's through grief. Take your inventory, make your list. Count all of your blessings, name them one by one, and be grateful for them. It does not numb you to what you are experiencing, and it doesn't diminish your right to experience it. But it helps you think about your perspective of the great wealth of memories, the museum of memories and great times that you still have to be grateful for. I'm Marcus Holmes. This has been a great Love and Stuff. We will be back on Thursday at different points through the day. And if you're willing to be part of that, just inbox us at Love and Stuff, just for people who aren't going to go somewhere and might just want a connection. We will have the Zoom ID on the Love and Stuff page. You can just join. And if it becomes overwhelming, we have break rooms inside of that Zoom room that you can go in a break room and maybe just have prayer or meditate or cry. If you don't want to cry in front of everybody, you can go in a break room. We can have a break room where the criers go. I'll go in there and cry with you because I understand what it is to love. But I'm so grateful that even though I lost, and I feel like I lost a lot, I would rather have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. What a life it would be if I didn't know what love was. And that's what Love and Stuff is all about. It's about upping our love game so that we are awakened to the amount of love that resides in the Creator, because He is love. And He has poured of Himself into us to be love, to reflect His love, and then to share His love with our neighbors as ourselves. And you heard the doctor say, you got to do self-care before you can care for someone else. I venture to say, you got to do self-love before you can love someone else. And so get about the business of loving yourself, of loving the Creator, and acknowledging that He's got a mission and assignment for you to love. And so we want to share some of that love on Thursday. We want to share it year round, but we realize that it's been a very tough and difficult year, unlike I think any we've ever seen. And we just want to be there as a community of love. Then on Friday, we're having our second access-only event. It is called Stuffed with Love, a spoken word experience. We'll be here live on Facebook. We have 5 great artists, 2 spoken word artists, 2 musicians, and 1 comedian who are going to speak to your soul. And you can join us. It's access only, which does mean that it's a $9.99 fee. But for these 5 artists, LaShawn Phoenix Moore, who is a staple in the spoken art community, as well as Ben Will, who is an ambassador of spoken word. We're going to have Angel A, who is a multi-genre recording artist, join us. She kind of fuses jazz and electronica and hip hop. You don't want to miss it. And then we have Juilliard and Yale-trained violinist Richmond Punch from Atlanta, Georgia, who will be with us, and none other than the legendary talk show host and comedian Coco. She will be with us. And so we want you to join us Friday for that. I think you'll have a great time. It'll be well worth the $9.99 for the investment. You can go to the Love and Stuff page and learn more about the event and sign up to join us. It's been a great show. Thank you again to Dr. Trudy Hale and Dr. Mareitta Alston Williams. We really appreciate them. Keep it going in the comments. We're going to go to an after show in the messenger room. If you want to join us there, we'll put the information out. It will be live. So we'll be in a messenger room, but it'll be live. That means that people will be able to hear what you say and see you. So I want to make sure you know that before you come to the messenger room and say something, something that can be heard live. Let me just say it that way. But we want to just keep the dialogue going for a bit in the after show. And thank you all. I'm just seeing the comments. People are wishing happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much. Be grateful. Choose gratitude. That's right. That's right. Aria, you don't want to miss it. Aria is one of our staples in our community. And Aria she told me she's not the star yet, but she's playing a role in a movie. Aria, tell me the name of the movie. It's on Amazon Prime. It's you can watch it now, and we're very proud of Aria. She's an actress and has been grinding for a long time. So I'll make sure I drop that in the comments so that you can watch the movie that she is playing a role in. I'm Marcus Holmes. Thank you so much. Have a great night.